Hey, Holden. Wait up.
Oh, what's going on?
Oh, what's going on? I'm so glad you asked me that. I'm on my way to the water cooler. Chatted up with a couple ladies. What's going on with you?
Oh, just about to give another one of those avoid comp tests to one of the new prospective employees.
You lucky bastard. I wish I could do that.
What? Why? It hasn't been fun so far.
I've had this itch the last couple interviews, and I just don't have the guts to do it.
Oh, well, what did you want to do?
I wanted to ask them that question that we're not allowed to ask them.
What their sign is?
Oh, that's a close second, but no. You asked them about their mother.
Their mother?
I know, right? It seems so crazy. I don't have the guts to do it. I've been hearing some crazy stories around the office about people that did it, and I don't know if I can do it, but maybe you can just slip it in at the end somewhere, maybe?
I don't know, man. I'm kind of new here. Is that like a hazing type thing, or?
No. It's totally cool. Trust me. If you can do this, you can do anything.
Okay, I'll give it a shot. I'll try it. Just ask them about their mother?
Yeah, just their mother. You know, nothing crazy.
Okay, that's doable. I gotta go interview this Leon Kowalski.
Oh, he sounds totally calm, tame, and would never pull a gun on you.
Yeah, that's what I thought looking at him too. But, okay, I gotta get down there. I'm gonna be late. I'll see you later.
Good luck.
Come in. Sit down.
Care if I talk? I'm kind of nervous when I take tests.
Just please don't move.
Oh, sorry. I already had a IQ test this year. I don't think I've ever had one of these.
Reaction time is a factor in this, so please pay attention. Now, answer as quickly as you can.
Sure.
1187 at Unterwasser.
That's the hotel.
What?
Where I live.
Nice place?
Yeah, sure, I guess. That part of the test?
No, just warming you up, that's all.
Oh, it's not fancy or anything.
You're in a desert, walking along the sand, when all of a sudden...
Is this the test now?
Yes. You're in the desert, walking along the sand, when all of a sudden you look down.
What one?
What?
What desert?
It doesn't make any difference what desert. It's completely hypothetical.
But how'd I come to be here?
Maybe you're fed up. Maybe you want to be by yourself. Who knows? You look down and you see a tortoise, Leon. It's crawling towards you.
Tortoise? Oh, what's that?
Know what a turtle is?
Of course.
Same thing.
I've seen a turtle, but I understand what you mean.
You reach down. You flip the tortoise over onto its back, Leon.
Do you make up these questions, Mr. Holden, or do they write them down for you?
The tortoise lays on its back, its belly baking in the hot sun, beating its legs trying to turn itself over, but it can't. Not without your help. But you're not helping.
What do you mean I'm not helping?
I mean you're not helping. Why is that, Leon? They're just questions, Leon. In answer to your query, they're written down for me. It's a test, designed to provoke an emotional response. Shall we continue? Describe in single words only the good things that come into your mind about your mother.
My mother?
Yeah.
Let me tell you about my mother.
Holden, you asked the question? Holy crap, I can't believe you fell for the oldest trick in the book, you dirty bastard. I can't wait till the girls at the water cooler hear about this one. This is JPar, and you are listening to the We Promise Nothing Show. Tonight on the show we have Myles, Clayton, and Dabu. Before we get things started, the music you're listening to right now has been brought to you by SoundsLikeAnEarful.com. If you need great music for your podcast, check out SoundsLikeAnEarful.com. Now this week we are going to review the classic Blade Runner, the 1982, I want to say sci-fi kind of film noirish kind of thing, like a mystery investigating. Anyways.
Great description there, JPar.
Yada.
This is not IMD official.
Let's not get hung up on details.
No. That's. I'll describe it to you later, guys. I think I can describe it. I'm still not really sure what happened in this movie. But before we get into that discussion, everybody say hello to the crowd.
Hi, guys.
Hey, everybody.
It's Clayton. It's me.
Yeah, that was Clayton.
It's me.
That was definitely Clayton.
And Dabu in here in the corner.
We're not going to say what he's doing in the corner, and we're.
But it is dark.
It is very dark.
I see a lit cigarette
He's reading some poetry.
in a rocking chair
Red wine on hand.
Mm-hmm.
with Bach playing in the background.
Yes. Very sophisticated.
Wow.
So tonight we're going to review Blade Runner, the 1982 movie, which is directed by Ridley Scott. It's rated R. It is a sci-fi thriller, kind of a mystery. IMDb, I just want to add that on there. So if you haven't seen this one before, a Blade Runner must pursue and try to terminate 4 replicants who stole a ship in space and have returned to Earth to find their creator. That's very simplistic. That is the most crappiest
description for
You know
that
what?
movie.
I'm gonna give you. Why don't you give us the synopsis there, Clay? Because that is crap. IMDb.
Well, that's like the way they make that sound. That's like
know.
on those websites where they're
Okay,
like,
so in the future, which is 2019, I know it's only 2 years from now.
they're like describe this movie badly. Oh, okay. I guess I'll do it in one sentence. Yeah.
All right, so in 2019, there's androids known as replicants, and they are illegal, and people are trying to find them out, and there are investigative units called Blade Runners, and it is their jobs. They're kind of like, detectives in some way, and it's their job to try and find these androids / replicants in the year 2019, which is this sophisticated future, which is only 2 years from now. I know, it's funny. Isn't the future in the 80s fantastic?
Oh yeah. Sit in the dark with red wine and cigarettes and
So this is how they imagine the future 2019 in the year 1982. But this movie is based off of a book. And what is the name of that book, Clayton?
Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick.
Mm-hmm.
Philip Dick. By Philip Dick. Okay. It's Philip K. Dick.
So Philip K. Dick.
Yeah.
All right, great. Now I'm afraid, are you going to read the facts and trivia for us this week? Before we get into the review today?
I'll give you the cast first, the first build.
It's all right. So before we do first impressions, before you get into the trivia, this movie is starring Harrison Ford, Rutger Hauer, Sean Young, Edward James Olmos, Emmett Walsh, Daryl Hannah, William Sanderson, Brian James is Leon, Joe Turkel, and others. Joanna Cassidy.
You
James
gonna relegate
Hong.
James Hong to others?
Oh, whatever.
He's Chew Man.
Yeah, anyways. Others.
Others.
So that's who this is starring. Take it away, Clayton, with the IMDb facts and trivia.
Okay. Ridley Scott and Jordan Cronenweth achieved the famous shining eyes effect by using a technique invented by Fritz Lang known as the Schuftman process. Light is bounced into the actor's eyes off of a piece of half-mirrored glass mounted at a 45-degree angle to the camera. And that gives them that cat eye look where you see like replicants and stuff have.
This is the stuff people would have to do before CGI, folks.
Yeah, all of the effects are really practical. Ridley Scott's first cut ran for 4 hours. Most of the crew, including the writers and director, admitted that while it looked beautiful, it was mostly incomprehensible, necessitating additional editing and an explanatory voiceover.
Oh, yeah.
If I could get a hold of that cut, I would watch it. Joanna Cassidy, Zora, was at ease with the snake around her neck because it was her pet, a Burmese python named Darling. And the snake scale, seen under the electron microscope, is actually a marijuana bud.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know. The void comp test comes from Cambridge mathematician Alan Turing's 1951 paper in which he proposed a test called the imitation game that might finally settle the issue of machine intelligence, which I believe now is actually known as the Turing test. That's the test that they're actually using on androids now to see, like, if they can differentiate between human, like, they put them on the other side of a screen so that they can't see them, and then they have to figure out whether it's a real person or not.
Cool.
I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
All right,
this is
so
not facts and trivia, it's conjecture and trivia.
right, based off of IMDb, what they have to say.
Yeah.
So anything anything else super interesting?
Actually, some computer displays within the vehicles were used on the Nostromo and the lifeboat in Alien. They
Okay.
reused some of the assets from the one movie in the other, which is pretty cool.
We'll get into that. Maybe something else you might have reused as well. The Tyrell Company. Is that also in Alien as well, you were saying?
There's a little Easter egg. I'm pretty sure it's in the Aliens quadrilogy, and it talks about a note from Eldon Tyrell to David Wayland.
Okay.
I'm sure it's David Wayland, and they're talking about just basically about androids and how I think it's Tyrell is trying to convince Wayland that androids are a bad idea.
Okay.
Ridley tied those two universes together using that. I can't remember the exact details, but it was pretty cool.
And also, Harrison Ford, I don't think he was too happy filming this movie, right?
No, he hated working for Ridley Scott
Yeah.
because Scott was a dick. Scott was used to working with British camera crews and stuff where he was allowed to make up a lot of his own rules and do things his way. And when he came over to the States to film, all the rules changed. The Screen Workers Union there, they laid out a bunch of rules. He wasn't allowed to hold a camera, he had to do things their way, basically.
Okay. All right, so, your facts and trivia by IMDb and Clayton.
And Clayton.
All right, so we're going to get into our first impressions, and we are going to start with Clayton because, actually, let's start with Dabu over here because you're fond of this movie as well, and we'll start with first impressions. When did you see it, and what did you think?
Well, I think by the time I had seen it for the first time, I was still way too young to appreciate the kind of story this one is. This one's actually pretty deep when you really listen to a lot of the lingo, exchange between the characters from beginning to end. This movie really gets into some pretty deep topics. And as a child, I could never really see that for what it was. It was more a matter of putting me into this new universe of theirs. I didn't realize that it was 2019, actually, the year that they were having us, see on screen here. But I actually love the fact that the entire time as I'm watching this film, whether if I grasped the messages that were said or not, my impressions going in were not exactly what I had leaving the film theater the same way. The movie actually turned out to be almost the opposite of what I expected. I wanted a sci-fi action flick.
You saw it in theater?
Well, I did at a later time. But anyhow, it was the fact that it was a movie that turned out less science fiction and more psychological. There's a heavy psychological tone to this entire film. And I was genuinely shocked by that. So that was my impression going in thinking it was science fiction, but it certainly was not.
Yeah. Okay, so this is only my second time seeing it in its entirety. I saw
For shame.
I saw it in bits and pieces when I was younger, but I never saw it in its entirety, and then I've only just recently watched it, so this movie is still kind of a new thing to me. I definitely see why people are impressed with it. It has a lot of awesome practical effects, and I think the best thing about it is probably the world building. It brings you into this atmosphere of this 2019 world of replicants and people, and it's just, I don't know, it really draws you into the world, and I feel that's really interesting. But the story, the mystery story that's going on here, I know it's a film noir. I know it kind of a little bit. It's more like a mystery kind of thing. So you're following, this Blade Runner who is Harrison Ford. It just feels slow at times, and I feel sometimes the story just isn't there. The world is great. That's well thought through, but sometimes I just feel like the story isn't coherent. That's just me. This is a new thing to me. Like I said, I didn't grow up with this movie, so don't hate me. Go ahead there, Clayton.
Oh, okay.
First impressions, I know you're a fan of this as well.
Okay, so first impressions. I remember hearing and seeing references to Blade Runner when I was a small child, and I probably didn't get to see it until I was about 14 or 15. But I'm glad that I had to wait a little bit longer because I got to absorb a bit more of it. And over the years after watching it, I've taken more and more and more from it, and it's almost like the movie has kind of almost grown with me. Plus, its cult status and how so much hype has been built up around, especially this year for Blade Runner 2049. Mm-hmm. I'm a huge fan of science fiction novels, so the fact that they This is loosely based on.
Yeah, it's not completely
Android
based off
Dream.
that book. It's just taken some of the ideas from it.
Yeah, but it's awesome. It's the quintessential early '80s science fiction movie. Like, it's got the awesome atmosphere and the awesome music and the cool set pieces, and it was just awesome to watch. Right, from beginning to end for me, because like right around the same time, I think, is probably when I saw the first Alien movie. So Ridley Scott was like coming hot off of Alien, making this, and you can feel like he wants Alien and Blade Runner to be in the same universe, so you can feel that, like you said, world building.
And even with Prometheus, he really focuses on his android characters too.
He has a thing for androids.
Yeah,
he really does.
Myles, take it away. First impressions. When is the first time you've seen this movie?
Today.
Oh!
What's the day today?
What? And you said for shame to me?
September
Yeah.
2nd, 2017. I, Myles,
Way to date this video.
watched this movie. Yeah. So going into the movie, I am a big fan of science fiction. I'm a big fan of film noir. Movies like AI, iRobot, Ex Machina. Anytime you deal with androids interacting with humans, it's really cool to get that behind the idea of what is consciousness or what is life. And it's so powerful just to sit down and think of that. So when I went into this and I knew there was a cult following, you hear Blade Runner everywhere. Oh yeah, Blade Runner. So it had some big shoes to fill. It had the classic Ridley Scott-ness scenes, like you mentioned, Prometheus. The one thing I like about Prometheus is the beautiful shots. So you have these really long, wide shots, and this movie had a lot of that. There was always like a very far shot of people just walking towards the camera. So you get to take it all in. You get to take in these beautiful scenes. But I won't get into my review. I don't know. I will just say that it had some big shoes to fill from other big directors like Steven Spielberg and other sci-fi directors. So I don't know. We'll see if it held the test of time.
All right, and before we get into our ratings, if you like more reviews like this and you want to see our terrific faces, then you can tune into us Late Night Tickets. We're about to start season 2. That's right, folks. Get pumped.
Build me dynasty.
That's right. We're going to be on Eastlink, and you can check us out, channel 10 at 10 on Mondays, 10 on most nights, actually. And if you're on the sub area, you can check us out on demand. All right, so let's get into the rating. What do we rate this out of 5? We're not going to get into the spoilers yet. Why does it get that rating? You started us off before, Dabu. Go ahead.
Wow. I feel like I should be one of the few here should be giving it a high number. This is one of my personal favorites. I have to pick at a lot of things here, though. But I'm going to start off with a good, strong 4 out of 5. I can't get any lower, and I certainly can't get any higher for other good reasons. This is, again, going back to my original comment, it had a very strong psychological tone that I really appreciated. You had brought it up, Myles, about this idea of, what is life, what's considered, to be alive and whatnot, all the questions that go with such said, existence. This movie's got it all the way through. It even ends on that note and has you pondering on it after the credits start to roll, right? So it's one of those things where I loved the way it ended on it. The downside, however, was that even though the effects were practical and they were very timeless after all these years even seeing it, I still feel like I can pick at things that were almost a joke now. It's almost a sad thing to say, but it's almost like what I thought was once timeless is actually showing the test of time to some extent. The world building and all that.
Is it showing the test of the time, or is it showing age? Because what you
Well,
mean is
okay,
it's showing
sorry.
age.
What I'm trying to say is that there's moments in the movie where the age shows itself.
There you go.
Overall, the movie stands the test of time, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
But I think it's safe to say, though, that things like the world building and, the message that it ends on and all that, that was pretty much a given. I felt like what it missed out on was what potential it had with the science fiction aspect of this whole story. I don't know if it was purposely avoided, but when I think of sci-fi and I think of a world where, we had, a lot of these vehicles flying in the air and everything, you get the strong impression like society has actually evolved to a whole new level. to the point where everything is economically sound. Everything works, and everyone's living a perfect life until you find out that most real human beings, I guess the ones that we're saving, are not on Earth. They're somewhere else. They're elsewhere in the galaxy. So I guess all of the ones that they don't want are the ones they left on the planet, right? So I guess when I see this world that Ridley Scott had built, everything's decrepit. Everything's breaking down around them. And yet at the same time, we still have vehicles flying around in the air like as if everything is just perfectly fine. I don't know. It's a weird little...
It's a weird mix of old and new technology. It's weird because they have flying cars, but yet the computers they're using are not like as advanced. You can tell they're still using...
Harrison
like
Ford
DOS?
was reading a newspaper at the beginning of the movie.
Well, there's that.
Yeah,
On top of that,
that's-
he had a mechanism that allowed him to put a photograph
That's
into
what I was
it,
going to say.
scan up close like as if pixels don't
It's
make a
voice
fucking
activated.
difference.
He can tell it what to do with his voice, but it's still a picture that like takes photographs. It's not digital, and he's like, move it left so many inches. Like what the fuck kind of technology is
Yeah.
this? Like,
Where
what
can I get that?
weird '80s dystopian future did we get ourselves into?
Yeah. I feel like we're giving away a bit of the spoilers.
Oh
though,
man,
in
I'm
some
gonna
sense.
say some shit.
Well,
about
we're not
guys.
giving away too much about
No, I
plot
know.
details, but that's
I got-
kind of some of the things you see.
I got-
So anyway, so that's why you've given it a 4 is because...
I think it was because what it was strong on was, I guess, the message and the fact that it had a very strong psychological tone that worked well for it.
Yep.
On the other hand, it wasn't quite that level of science fiction story that I was hoping for, I think. So
And and I totally agree with what you're saying. I give it I'm not going to agree with your rating though. I'm going to give it a 3.5. And the reason I give it a 3.5 is because the effects and casting of Harrison Ford and also the world building and just the atmosphere of the movie are top notch. They really build this world around you and you really feel like you are enveloped in this world. And it's just really cool to see, the interaction, this alternative future, if you will, of 2019, where they got flying cars, being they don't got great computers and don't use digital photos yet. So it's like cool to see, and it's done in like this kind of like mystery kind of style thriller kind of thing where I don't know, it's a weird mix of sci-fi, and I think that's what you're talking about with the story, and I think that's where it gets weak, is because even though the world is built so good and everything looks really cool, sounds really cool, everything's pleasing to look at, the story isn't about really the androids. It's more about, it is, but it isn't. It's hard to describe the story without giving anything away, and I think that's where I might have to wait for spoilers.
I kind of feel like the replicants were almost like not the main focus on the story. They were useful. They were a tool to explain the ending quite well, but in the end, the replicants were not the focus throughout the entire film. That's what I took away from it.
All right. We'll get into that more in Spoiler Town. Go ahead, Clayton.
Yeah, I got 2 barrels loaded up for you guys for Spoiler Town.
Okay.
I can answer just about everything that you guys you talked about. I can address all of that.
So what are you giving this thing? You giving it
I'm
a 5?
giving this. You know what? For me, I'm gonna go on my fan side. This was almost one of my 5 stars. I'm gonna give this a 4.5.
Okay.
Only because it's really hard to separate. First thing, we should be clear. Out of the 4 of us, one of us watched a different version.
We really
Boo
should
watched
be
the
clear about
director's
that.
cut.
We watched the final
watched
cut.
the final cut. And I've seen the original. I can't even remember how long ago. It was probably the first one that I saw, actually. But I've seen the final cut a bunch of times. Okay, I'm going to give this movie a 4.5. From the visuals, which were incredibly well done. Ridley Scott's has a really good eye for talent when it came to modeling and miniatures back in that day, like the Nostromo from Alien, and now the Tyrell Corporation building from the opening scene of Blade Runner is amazing. And I should point out, I was reading the trivia and stuff today, that model of that building is actually only 13 feet deep by 18 feet wide. It's actually very, very small.
Cool.
But there's so much detail in it, and they move in closer and closer and closer, and you just see all of this crazy detail in that building. It paints a really bleak picture of the future. They come in on that opening scene, you see the smokestacks and all that. You know what I mean? They set a heavy atmosphere. The soundtrack done by Vangelis, I think his name is. Her name, that name, their name, the group's name. Vangelis. That's all I saw. It just stuck out in my mind when I watched it today. Has got an awesome like future retro wave synth.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. It fits in all the right places. You know, it punctuates the action and the mood when it needs to, and it just does a really good job. Your point about the long shots, actually, Jay, about the long slow shots, Ridley Scott's long.
That wasn't my.
Or was that Boo? It was Boo.
That was me.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, was it?
But continue.
It was Myles.
Yes.
About the long, slow shots and how Ridley Scott doesn't mind taking his time to set up a shot and set up a scene. It's in full effect here. He's allowed to do what he wants, so it works really well. I love the whole movie.
All right, rating. No spoilers yet.
2.5.
Oh!
2.5. This movie was boring as fuck. Holy shit. There was a few times I actually had to rewind because I know there was a bunch of imagery and just like scenes that were put in the movie for like different effect, but holy crap. It was boring. It was confusing. Harrison Ford phoned it in for this fucking performance. There was only one time in the movie where I actually enjoyed his performance, and that's when he was interviewing that stripper with the snake. That was it. I like that character he's playing. He's like, oh, he's got life. He's alive. And then he literally shot and killed
I can address
that performance.
I can address that.
Shortly after that. If it would have been more film noir, like look off into the distance and, you know, pan to his eyes, black it out monologue, that would have been cool. If it would have been more Ex Machina or Bicentennial Man, where the robots are trying to be human, that would have been cool. But it didn't have either of those. It was so thin. It was razor thin, this plot, this story. That's why IMDb gave you that crap synopsis, because they watched it like, what the fuck did we just watch? Holy crap. It looked beautiful. Don't get me wrong. It looked beautiful.
It did.
But it was so thin.
I agree with the story
The characters were thin. I didn't care about anybody dying. I didn't care about anything. And then, if I could read, I'll give you a
What's your synopsis?
maybe not my synopsis.
Oh, okay.
The synopsis. No, I won't give you that. But I'll give you a pitch for a better movie later on. Yeah, I'll give you
later on in spoiler.
This movie took a hot Carl on my life. I'll never get the 2 hours back.
Oh my god, you get me that upset with it.
I was, because, well, it like I said in my first impressions, it had big shoes to fill. I've seen a lot of different movies. Like I said, Bicentennial Man, great. iRobot, it had action and it had some cool sci-fi. AI, it had, well, Steven Spielberg was the director. It had beautiful shots. It also had a great, compelling story that went through time, literally. And then you had this. I don't know what the hell this movie was trying to be. It was just like a bunch of beautiful shots. The end. Cool.
I feel like what you just described, though, Myles, is exactly why this is that kind of movie that I kind of.
I don't get the cult following. Well, I'll just put it that way. Like
you never followed it. That's
I'm
why.
going to explain some
did.
stuff to you, but I've seen the movie like
Well, that's what.
100
All right.
times. So
You
Save
and I
your
have-
arguments for Spoiler Town, because we are just about to get there in one hot second. We're going to flip into Spoiler Town. We're going to really dig into the movie. We're going to tell you what we like about the movie. We're going to tell you what Myles doesn't like about this movie. So we're going to give you the best and the worst. Dabu, get us rolling.
All right. I'm just going to point this out there that I will totally agree with you, Myles. Harrison Ford's performance was not the reason why this movie kept me captivated. His performance was one of my least favorite aspects of this movie. I'm not
Okay,
saying
so
he
if we
did-
take the lead actor out, continue. What do we have?
It's not even so much a lead actor. I barely consider his character so much the lead character, other than the fact that the story just follows him. That's it. It really has more to do with him representing one half of the spectrum, which is the humans, and the other half being the replicants, robots. So it's safe, and then those are played by a variety of individuals, right? So you get a different perspective from their half. It's their half that really had me fully interested because of one good reason. They're not supposed to have emotion, and yet throughout the entire film, they had more emotion coming out of their performance than Harrison Ford ever did.
You know what the big problem is with this movie? I'm just going to interject what you're saying. Someone else wants to interject too.
Some dickhead honking his horn outside. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so what was the name of that secretary woman from Tyrell? what was her name? The one she was a replicant.
Rachel.
Rachel. Okay.
Oh, she's not a secretary, by the way. She's
Whatever. She's a fluffer.
She
what
fluffs
else?
his pillow.
She fluffs Harrison Ford's pillow.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
We're in spoilers.
Okay, so here's the problem. You were saying that, Rachel, we're following Harrison Ford around. If they didn't blow their goddamn load so quickly on the fact that she was a replicant, that would have been an amazing twist at the end of the movie. After they pork, he finds out, holy fuck, she's a replicant, and I'm the guy who's supposed to detect and kill these people.
Boom.
I'm falling in love with this woman, and she's not even real.
That's a story.
That would have been a cool anything for this movie, but fuck it. He knows right off the bat, I know she's a replicant. What? Okay, well then what else do I have to watch? Continue, Boo, please.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because I'm not going to disagree, but at the same time, that's not the same film we were given. This film was literally trying to give us one clear message, and that was life should be respected, simply said. Whether if it was you think is alive, an android in this case, at the end of that movie, sorry, what character was his name there? The leader of the, Roy, his character, when
Roy.
he literally ended the movie on such a note where what did he say? His exact lines, and this is by far one of my favorite scenes in the movie. I think he says,
Now you know what it's like to be in fear.
No. That's a basic message. No.
All right.
How?
What's he say then?
All of his memories, you people wouldn't
Believe the things
that
I've
I've seen. And then he goes on by saying, as a replicant, that he had seen war and whatnot. He's seen, life come to be in front of him. He described these specific moments where, as a human being, you would be completely awestruck. And you would be more than honored to have actually witnessed that before you pass on.
Seeing the warships on the shoulders of Orion.
Yeah, exactly. That's a one-time scene where you probably would only see it in one lifetime. And he's got 4 years to live in, and that's one of his experiences, something that most humans had never seen. So right away, that shows me he's lived a better life than most humans probably could ever live, or a bigger life, right? And better yet, he ended with that one line, my favorite, which was, "These memories will now be lost like tears in the rain."
Yeah.
Perfect. That was even
Great metaphor.
that was on the spot. That wasn't the line given to him. That was ad-lib. Thank you. That was actually thrown on the spot by the actor Rutger
Hauer, yeah.
and he apparently is known to this day. He's quoted for that line so many times over.
It's a great line.
And it's a beautiful line, and that's the summary of the movie. Believe it or not, that's what it's all meant to be. Whether you're human, whether you're a replicant. As long as you're a sentient being, I think simply said, that can understand the importance of life, having a beginning and having an end. If you recognize that importance of living that life the way you should live it to the full, that's it. That's all that should be said. And that's what I loved about the movie. On the other hand, that wasn't the true ending, was it? Leading up to my least favorite, I think this is where maybe we're going to see some differences.
Yeah,
with
what
the
happened in your ending?
Well, this is my ending. This is the ending that I did not like.
It was in the director's cut.
Yeah, and I think the way it was, literally before screen went to black, Harrison was trying to go back to his apartment to find if Rachel was still there where he had left her. Find out she was. Thought maybe she might have died before he could get to her. She wasn't. They make it to the elevator, but before they make it to the elevator, what does he see on the floor in the hallway?
Tinfoil bird.
Origami.
A little origami thing, which is responsible from
police officer.
Yeah, exactly. So in other words, he was there, and it just dawned on him that if he was there, then he knows Rachel was there. So he was telling him to go live your life. In so many words, she only has a short amount of time to live.
Yeah.
Too bad she can't live. Or will she? I forget if that's what his words or not. Anyway,
But do we all?
Do we
ever?
ever? Does anyone ever live?
Exactly. So, and I think that's a given where he's realizing, he's giving me the option to run away with her. I'm going to take it, and that's it. That he runs into the elevator and it cuts to black.
We got the same ending.
Same ending.
I don't like that. It just
Really?
didn't seem to have the right tone as the way that ending occurred.
You missed the ending then. You missed what actually
boy.
happened there.
All right, let
okay.
me quickly throw in my best and worst, so that way you two can go at it there. And then you guys got to go a whole another round with this guy over here.
Myles, I'm curious to see what Myles has to say.
Okay, so I'm going to give you my best, and that is very much the atmosphere of the movie, the art direction, the set pieces, just Ridley's artistic nature, the way he presents it. Everything is beautiful. It sounds cool. It's a feast to look and listen to. So that is my favorite, especially for that time too. Was 82 to have such set pieces and to get you enveloped in this fucking world that's, I don't know, it's cool. It's some weird pseudo future that's gonna happen in 2019, but not really gonna happen. It was cool to see, and all that effects. Once again, practical effects. It always comes down to practical effects. The worst is the story, the lack thereof. The world building is so good. Like, you get everything around the world, you understand the world, you understand the replicants, you understand the dynamic, but there's no characters to hold this story in place. And the story that is happening, it's not even really a story that's happening. You're just following Harrison Ford character on this journey. It's just a day in the life of a detective as a Blade Runner. You know, a day in the life of a Blade Runner. You're just following him around. He has to deal with some androids, some replicants. Shit happens. He almost...
More shit happens.
Yeah, so like a replicant's gonna kill him. He's about to kill him. He's like, no, I like life now. You stay alive. Tears in the rain. Sad.
Wow. Butchering that last great.
Paraphrase the
Did
whole
you write
movie.
the IMDb
They
synopsis?
paraphrased the entire movie right there. Perfect. That was
I'm
beautiful.
a cop, and now my guy just died.
I'm having a bad day.
But it's like,
The
that's
end.
what I mean. Like, what really happens in this movie? The most, like, Myles said it. The most interesting thing that does happen is he gets into a relationship with a replicant, and they barely touch upon. He's like, oh, is he going to be with the replicant? He's like, oh, he leaves with her at the end. That's great, but there was no struggle for him to be with the replicant. No one was trying to find out, you know, like, if he was with a replicant. It's just it's like two sides of a story, and then, like, you know, Roy and his crew, and the other side is Harrison Ford's character, and there's, like, randomly bumbling about in this 2019 world, and they accidentally stumble into each other, and things happen. It doesn't feel like there's an ending. Maybe, you know, you guys say there's, like, a message here, and I do see that message, but I mean, I don't really see a story from beginning to end. I see a great world that is built where you can have great stories inside, but I just feel like they didn't actually have a predominant story that was here, that we could really see. No characters to touch and feel. It was just like, we're here, we have a short little time to see them, and that's it. You don't really get to spend time there with them. And... go ahead, Clayton. Go ahead. I'm sure you're gonna hate.
Yeah.
You probably hated everything I just said.
No, I didn't. I did, but I have to say something before I start saying something, and that is, I have the advantage as well as the disadvantage of having read "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep." There are things that they don't explain in the movie. That this is what kind of brings the movie down for me. A couple of points is the fact that there are things that they omit in the movie that they use in the book that would go a long way towards explaining things, and they wouldn't have to spend a lot of time extrapolating on them. Okay, so I'll kind of shelf that for now, but I hear you guys' complaints about the thin storyline and the thin this and that, but there's a lot of interpretation, there's a lot of metaphor, and there's a shit ton of symbolism.
I will say there is a lot of metaphors and symbolism, which I appreciated. And I feel like that's great. That's all awesome.
Yeah.
But you still need a story in the end.
It's there. It's there if you know where to look. But I'll say
Wait,
that.
in another movie.
No, it's here.
We'll
And that's
find
why
the
this is
story
a
in a different
disadvantage for
movie.
me reviewing the movie, because I know all of these things.
You know
from
where
the
to
book.
look. Like in a book somewhere else?
No. I know where they got the inspiration for certain things that happen in the movie. Because I read the book. That's my disadvantage. As well as my advantage, because when I'm watching the movie, the book kind of supplements it.
Yeah.
It fills in some of those gaps.
Yeah.
So it's hard to be objective. Anyways, I'll stick to the rules. I'll go with my worst and my...
You never stick to the rules.
I'll go... Yeah,
You've already gone off the rails
We will
here.
be here all night. Anyways, okay, so worst part...
We just maybe.
Okay, you just wait. It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, we'll be here
Dragons
for
are
another
coming.
2 more hours.
Okay,
So what did you like about it?
No, I'm going to give you my worst part first, and then I'm going to give you my best.
No, that's not happening.
No,
Oh,
that's
give
not
her.
happening.
Give
Don't
her.
make me blow my wad too quick.
Oh.
Okay,
It's your worst.
the worst part about the movie is Deckard's interview with Zora, the stripper. Okay?
Wait, that's his favorite part. Are
It
you
is.
saying that to
It
me
is,
again?
and it's not. It's not the interview itself. It's not the acting between the two characters or whatever. It always hits my ear wrong when Deckard livens up his voice. For what? The woman doesn't know who he is. He doesn't have to talk like this and be like, I'm from the safety committee. I'm spying through holes on you. Why the hell would he do that?
That was kind of a made-up kind of crap.
Weird. It was like...
It was odd.
He could have delivered the line any other way. He could have been like, yeah, well, I'm just from the health board, and, they're just worried about...
The movie became super 80s at that point.
Yeah,
because we had
weird.
the naked girls like, oh, yeah, guys who like to stare through showers, and it's like, became super pervy.
Little dirty holes.
Yeah.
He's talking about little dirty holes. And it was really weird. And I was like, fuck that. Like,
yep,
man, okay.
There's the 80s influence.
I get it, Harrison Ford. I get it. You wanted to pull out a little bit of acting, but I can't. That must have grated the shit out of Ridley Scott's nerves when he did that. Like, I don't know. I don't know how that ever got into the movie. My best part, and I'm going to... Okay. My best part is the final scene in the movie when you discover that Deckard is a replicant.
The fuck are you talking about?
I'm fucking saying it. Ridley Scott has come out and said it. Deckard is
Okay,
a replicant.
so is there
It
a scene
changes
that
the-
actually proves
yes,
it?
That's the scene. When Deckard...
Which scene?
Okay, there's a scene earlier in the movie that sets it up. Deckard is sitting up against his piano, and he's been drinking whatever, and he's playing the piano, and he falls asleep. He has a daydream of a unicorn.
Yeah, the one from Legend.
When he comes...
The exact same one.
When he... At the end of the movie, when he comes back into his apartment, when Rachel is there, Gaff has left him a tinfoil unicorn.
Yeah.
He never told anybody about the unicorn. Now, whenever a replicant is created, like Terrell says in the movie, they have an inception date, and there's a file that comes out with them, like a owner's manual, basically. Yes. He read Rachel's inception date file, and he knows the story about the spider in the bush that laid the egg sac,
right,
and then the spiders came alive. And she never told him that. So later in the movie, when Gaff leaves the tinfoil unicorn there, that is Gaff telling Deckard
like, I know
that
about
I
you.
read your file.
Yeah.
I know that you're a replicant.
Okay.
So he could be a Nexus 7. He could be something new. The point is that a lot of people argued about this for a lot of years, and then Ridley Scott actually came out and said, yes, he is a fucking replicant.
He's a fucking liar is what he is.
Deckard,
and I'll tell you why.
Deckard is a replicant. He is. You're going to have to make peace with it.
All right, so Myles is going to tell us
to.
why, and he's going to give us his best and worst.
Okay, I'll start with the best because it's a very short list.
The stripper scene?
No. The only reason why I said that scene was good is because we got some acting out of Harrison Ford. The entire movie... Well, I guess I'm going into the bad already. I can't even get with the good, but...
Well, you gave it a 2.5.
Yeah, I gave it a 2.5, but I'll start with the good. The special effects were pretty cool. I really liked... And I did get the alien vibe a lot of times. Mm-hmm. Like you said, the computer was from the Nostromo. I got that. I saw a lot of alien special effects in this movie, which was cool. I'm cool with that. That was the best part of Alien for me, was the special effects. And the long shots. There was always a really cool long shot of people walking towards the camera, having a scene, and they start far away, they end really close, and I really like that because it gives you time to actually appreciate what he set up in that scene. Mm-hmm. And I do appreciate that. I do like beautiful scenery, but the movie had such a thin story. Like, if you want a good android versus human debate movie, Ex Machina, hands down, takes the win.
That was a real
That's at the top
trip.
of my list. So when I seen this movie, and I seen Ex Machina before this movie doesn't hold up at all. Because, like I said, they blew the load right off the bat by revealing that What's-Her-Nuts was a replicant.
But that wasn't the
So
secret.
there's a story gone right there that I would have enjoyed. Deckard was definitely not a replicant, and this is why, because when he's sitting down with the cops, they're talking about all the stuff that he did back in the day. How he's the Blade Runner that everyone wants, like, to be. He set the standard for Blade Runners. You're the best. Oh, this guy was really good. Yeah, but he's barely breathing right now. What? So are you trying to say that the cops also had Inception memories too? Because they were coming up with time before this.
This is where the book can actually be interpreted into the movie. But I understand what you're saying. But he is undeniably a replicant. There is a point in the book where there is a police station run by replicants, though.
Anyways, it was such a thin story that if he was a replicant, it was so thin that nobody would have got it unless you microscoped every scene in the movie, and I don't want to do that again.
Which people do because...
I can't watch this movie. Yeah, Rachel asked him, hey, are you a replicant? I'm like, oh, here's a cool story that could happen. You know, he's like wondering if he's a replicant the whole time. and then that was it. Like they brushed it off completely.
He didn't laugh.
You know what? I wish you would have done that. I wish you would have done that because that would have been better than what we got. It was just like a, just like a grunt or something.
He was asleep.
Okay, you're complaining about his acting. Okay, all your details about Replicant aside.
The movie had
replicant.
so many times where it could have been a good movie. Like, it had little glimpses, little flashes in the pan of greatness, and then they didn't go down that avenue. They just said, oh, okay. And then the replicants themselves, they are all so pointless. It was so crappy. Like, the lines that came out of their mouth were crappy. Rutger
I will
Hauer,
say this. You know what?
Rutger Hauer did a really good impression of Jack Nicholson from The Shining, like 5 times. He did punch out the wall or he face through the wall, and it's just like, oh, here's Johnny. I was half expecting that the entire time. Like, oh my God, when will this movie end? And there was one point where Rutger Hauer was putting a nail through his hand. I'm thinking, okay, is this a crucifixion like metaphor or something?
Yeah, Ridley Scott
but
likes
they never went anywhere
religious
with
references
that at all. It just sort of like
you
started and ended immediately. I'm like, okay, now he's got a nail in his hand.
You know why he put a nail in his
No,
hand?
I have no fucking
Get
clue.
that energy up.
Yeah.
Well,
Junkie.
Well, that was it. I'm like, okay, is he trying to feel pain before he knows he's about to die or something? Like, feel something?
I think what was happening,
I don't know.
He's about to chase Deckard in the house.
So he's trying
in
to
the mansion.
handicap himself?
And then just before he could chase after them, he's telling his body, don't die now. I not right now. I can't afford to die right
He's
now.
like minutes
He's still
away
trying to
from
chase
dying.
Deckard. He's literally at the end of his life.
But why
So
is he trying to
as
chase
his hand is crumpling up because he's losing control over his motor functions, my guess was, and I guess what I put in my mind
But
was,
why is he
here's
trying
put
to
a
chase
nail
Deckard?
in my hand. I'm
Here's
gonna
another
shock-
problem.
I'm
We
going to
know
shock the
they're-
nerves in the hand or whatever's
We
in
know
there
they're
to-
alive for 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so were they running around for 3 years, 364 days?
What
do you mean?
What do I mean?
They knew they were at the end. Maybe they can time it. Who knows?
They're saying,
They
is it
spent
exactly
time at
4
the
years?
off-world slave colony working, and who knows how long it took them
That
to
would
get
have
from
even
Mars
been a
back to
cool.
Earth.
That would have even been a cool.
Well, he
part
did
of the
know he was
movie.
dying because he went to the guy who made them. What's his name?
Eldon Terrell.
There, he went to
Because
them because he wanted.
find
Yeah,
a way
he
to-
wanted
Yeah,
to see if he could
that-
extend his life.
Ugh.
And then when he told him he couldn't,
Meeting the Maker
he
is
crushed
just-
his head.
Yeah.
Can't tell me that was a great scene. That was good.
He didn't.
There was just so much that didn't need to be in the movie, and at the same time, it needed stuff in the movie. It was just like...
I also like the opening
didn't like
interview
the movie.
between the replicant is like.
Me too. I
I
thought
like
that was a really cool
really
idea.
good intro.
I thought that was really cool, and then they did it sort of again with Harrison Ford, but then they montaged over it. They're like, oh, how many questions does it usually take to know the replicant? 20 to 30. You did 110. Well, we didn't know that because you literally went through the entire question.
You wanted to
Period.
do
You
an
wanted
interview
to
on
hear-
No,
it.
I didn't want that, but I wanted more back and forth and him not knowing that it was a replicant or a human, but then they
Okay.
gave it away. It's just,
Okay.
I agree with you. In
flashes in the pan.
having
This
Rachel...
movie
Clayton
sucks.
and Dabu are in pain.
I was in pain, and I still am.
Harrison Ford.
This
You guys are
was-
saying that Harrison Ford is a thin character, but
You know what
one
this
of the
movie had going good
characteristics-
for it is that it came out in the 80s. There was no good movies.
The book was
that
written
dealt-
in the 60s.
Okay, but there was no good movies that dealt with this concept before this, so it's kind of like, oh, this is a cool movie. Well, I went backwards. I watched all the good movies first, and then I watched this movie. I'm like, oh, there's some Ex Machina there, but nah, not quite. Oh, there's some Bicentennial Man. Not quite. Oh,
Are
there's
they-
some AI. Oh, not quite.
They came out after
Sorry.
Blade Runner, right? They came afterwards?
Yeah.
So it's safe to
That's
say
what I
they were
needed.
inspired by
No,
movies like
no,
Blade
no,
Runner.
no,
I
no,
can't
no,
even
no.
say
Bicentennial
that.
Man and iRobot are both Isaac Asimov stories,
Yes,
which are
right.
both written right around the same time as.
Oh, okay. So it's safe to say they all fed off the same idea then.
Yeah,
It's just
they
the
came
story's
out-
told differently.
This movie
I
had
guess.
more religious
That's
metaphors
Ridley Scott for you.
than
Yeah,
it
you're
had
right. That is Ridley
the
Scott.
Turing test, where it was humans trying to figure out if they're with a robot or not. And that's what I needed in this movie, and I felt like that's how the movie started. And by the end, I don't know what the fuck this movie was. I don't know what the hell it was supposed to be.
Okay.
What-
He's gonna go run off into the
guys,
night.
You guys summed it up
with this
perfectly at the
woman.
beginning. The question in the movie is, what does it mean to be human? What does it mean to actually be
Who's
alive?
you guys? I think you mean the
You
Boo
guys,
summed it
you
up.
guys
Yeah,
were
not
both
me.
talking
I
about
didn't
it.
say
I was
that.
sure both you guys were talking about it. You said, "Oh,
No,
it
that
was
was
you."
him.
It was
You
him.
said, "What does it mean to be alive? What does it mean to be human?" And as as the creators of
Consciousness.
as the creators of bioengineered humans, do we have rights over them? At what point do I have dominion over a created being? If I create life, do I still have the right to
take it away,
to
or
dominate it,
yeah.
or kill it, or do whatever? That's
Use it
why
as a slave.
they ask the void comp test is designed to invoke an emotional response, because androids in the movie are characteristically
Void of
unempathic.
emotion.
Yes. So when Holden asks Leon about the tortoise, Leon's his
He was
gets
more
upset.
he doesn't
analytical.
sweat. He doesn't
Yeah.
whatever. He's like, why am I not picking it up? He's like, why are you not picking it up, Leon? You should.
But he
And
gets
that's when
he gets upset
realizes it.
though. He's like, "What do you mean I'm not doing anything?"
Yeah, but he should say, yeah, I am. I'm going to flip it back over. And he says, no, you're not. Well, why? But he just kind of goes, why am I not doing it? Like he's not concerned about the turtle. He's concerned about what he's not doing to help it. You know what I mean?
When he asked the question, what desert? Right there, I knew he was a robot.
Yeah.
And the Turing test also has the question, at what point do you realize that you're talking to a robot? Or is this a robot? It asks that question.
That's the question.
And
if you pass
right
the
there,
Turing test, it's
he
sentient.
failed the test immediately.
Yeah.
No more questions.
The point is,
Shoot
though, is
this
that
fucker in the head.
replicants are especially unempathic towards other replicants because they know they don't have to fool them.
Yeah.
So Harrison
I
Ford
get
is
the idea.
he's unintentionally unempathic towards anybody else in the movie, but you don't catch on to that until later on. You're like, he's like barely even here. Like, what's going on?
Okay, so we don't have that much
There was
more time.
Yeah,
so.
well, there's a lot. That was my biggest problem with the movie, is it was barely here. That was the theme of the movie. The story was barely there. The actors were barely there. Everything was barely there. It was just not enough for me. I've seen better. I've seen it done before. So because I went back in time, that was a disadvantage for the movie.
Yeah,
for me.
and
You
see,
did that
for
to yourself, I
my
think,
disadvantage is the
yourself.
fact that I read the book, because I can tell you guys there are things about the book that fill the movie in really nice. Like J.F. Sebastian is in the book. He's got that what the hell is that the disease he's got? It makes him age too fast.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah.
in the book,
No,
there's
his organs are aging too fast.
in the book there's a constant theme of degradation and decay. What happened is there was a huge war. There's radioactively charged dust blowing on the wind all the time. The people are suffering from gene degradation, right?
Yeah.
JF is one of those guys, and that's why when Pris asks him in the movie, "Is that why you can't get off Earth?" Because the only people stuck left on Earth are the extremely rich who want to be there, or the poor who can't get off because their genes are decayed or don't have the money or whatever. But they ask that question, and then you never hear anything about it again. They're like,
yeah,
"Oh,
exactly.
you can get
There's
off the
another
planet?"
thin line that
Exactly.
I wanted more from.
And that's what
why
I
are you
meant.
still here? Well, I'm sick. I can't get a ticket
When I
off.
was
Once
saying
again,
that there are things
great
that
background
the book,
story, but nothing about the
didn't go
characters.
and that's what I mean when
Nothing
I said
about the
that
characters.
Scott omitted stuff from the movie that he easily could have put in that wouldn't have taken any time to implement, right?
I 100% agree.
There's one thing you read off that IMDb that does not surprise me. They're like, they said when they were editing it, everyone said it looked really beautiful, it looked great, but even that one little thing you read from IMDb where it's like there was no scene through of a storyline, it's like I still see that there's no scene through. They had to edit things together or re-edit it or
To get a movie.
re-release a director's cut and a final cut just to make some sort of a story in there. I can see all the background and all the world building, all that awesome cool stuff going on. I just don't see the story that's right in front of me because there's none.
It's more supposed to be a story of themes. Like the book is all about the theme of Boo's question, what does it mean to be human? That was the theme of the book.
And there's definitely a lot of cool metaphors in here.
When Philip Dick wrote the book, he had been working on a book beforehand that had him for some reason reading through old Gestapo and SS soldiers' notes from World War II.
Lovely.
And he was talking, and he was reading these notes, and he's looking at these people, and he's like, this is occupational psychopathy, like psychopathic, occupational psychopath. Like, they do their job, and they hide behind their job as an excuse for the horrible things that they do.
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
said, how could you get to that point where you are so devoid of emotion? Like, the one Gestapo soldier was writing a letter, and it said something like, the screams of the children dying in the camp are keeping all of us up at night. Like, not because it's terrible and these children are dying. It's because they're making noise and they're keeping the soldiers awake. Like, how do you do that? How do you walk away? How could you be? Yeah, how could you be so inhuman? And that's where he started to get the theme about the androids and stuff. Also, in the movie, they don't really talk about it a whole lot, but a lot of animals are extinct. Like when they go into Terrell's office,
they mention that with the snake,
and they see the owl and the snake. He asks her, "Oh, is it real?" He's like, "No, like I could afford a real snake." And the thing is that the book is Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Deckard, when he was younger, actually had a real sheep, which is a big deal. Like people who have animals, that's like a status symbol. So people keep animals, right? So what happens is his sheep in the book, his sheep dies of tetanus. So in order to keep up appearances, he actually gets another sheep, a bio-made sheep, and keeps it there because he wants everybody to think I still have this sheep.
No, so that's kind of like a...
And it's a status symbol of possessing and owning life, of owning real life.
Fake life.
How precious life is here, but then we have these artificially created life forms here that we have that we're trying to actively destroy. Like, where do you draw the line? What?
And then he has sex with a replicant.
And he does, which is also super creepy because she tries to leave.
Rapey.
Yeah, he was rapey. I know.
Can we agree it was rapey?
Taken out of the context of the book, again, that scene actually is kind of cringeworthy because he like grabs her and he like throws her up against the thing and he's like, "Tell me what I want to hear."
Yeah.
And then she kind of comes around to the idea, but
it's the 80s.
That movie's kind of like out of place. Like,
all right, so we don't got much more time, guys. Final thoughts. We could argue about this all night, but we don't have much more time.
The fact that
it's about the ethics of life.
Yeah, because we have so many debates, guys, this is a big part of the reasons why you have to see this movie at least once. I'm not saying it's the greatest movie ever. I don't know if any of us are quite as accurate as we should be with our ratings, but clearly it inspired us to come up with these numbers for different reasons. Myles had just pointed that out to me, actually. Like, you hit on a number I didn't think you would ever hit.
Oh, he's gotten there before too.
No, I know, but a movie like this, I actually
Runner,
thought this was one he might have appreciated because of the philosophical tone to it, but it was not what you got out of it. We still need to see it.
You can see how polarizing this movie is between us. We got ratings all over the board, so that says to you should watch it yourself. It is one of those things that everyone's going to have a different opinion on, that there is a cult following to this. A lot of great effects for back from 82 and great world building. Is there a story there? You decide. Watch it.
Yeah, I'd totally say watch it. And if you get the chance, read the book too, because the book, as usual, is so much better than the movie.
I'm not going to say don't watch it. I am going to say there are movies that touched on the themes of this movie a lot better than this movie did. So
they also came a lot later.
Well, that's the problem. The order in which you watch this movie, whether you watch other movies first or you watch this one first, will definitely change your opinion on the movie itself.
All right. So if you like reviews like this, you should check out our show on Eastlink called Late Night Tickets, and that's channel 10 at 10 on Mondays. And you can give us a big old like on Facebook because we like when you do that. And you can always follow the conversation at We Promise Nothing. Drop the G. And right here on YouTube, give us a like, a subscribe, and please share. Leave a comment below. Doesn't even matter what the comment is. Just leave a comment and say you left a comment. This is JPar signing out.
Clayton saying, be a replicant, not a replicant, because if you repla won't, I repla will.
Nah.
This is Myles leaving.
Whatever, come on.
No, I got nothing.
Bring it, man.
The movie sucked the energy right out of me. Sorry.
Dabu going bye-bye.
And if you disagree with anything we said here on the show today, you can leave a comment below. But, as always, we promise nothing. Good night.
Edward James Olmos.